Hello, everybody. My name is Ian Kirkpatrick. I'm an author, idiot, and loin streamer, and today we're going to be doing an update finally on some different generative AI topics that I'll be very interested to hear your thoughts on because we're talking about a lot of personal things. We've got a couple of things that relate to copyright and creative cannibalism, but majority of the things today will actually be interpersonal related or intelligence related. Yeah, I'm looking forward to your thoughts on what you've seen. However, before we get started, number one, if you enjoy what I do here on the channel, please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Number two, if you would like to be featured on the channel, check out the links down in the description below. The number one way to be featured is through Lemoy, the monthly prompt writing contest, where I give you a prompt. You write a short story using that prompt, and on the first Monday video of the month, we revel in your greatness and your creativity. The second way to be featured is if you are an indie author and you have a book out or a book that is coming out. If you submit the first chapter and the cover, that chapter will be read here on the channel to hopefully help more readers find your work. The third way to be featured is the possibility of a Crit This series that will happen on Mondays, interspersed between the feature, where if you have a story that you would like feedback on, go to the Crit This page, read the rules there for submission, and there will be feedback on the channel. Of course, all feedback is just personal opinion and also influenced by personal tastes, so accept or discard whatever you like, but hopefully it'll help bring eyes to your work and also be a learning experience. Third thing is, if you would like to check out any of my books and, judge me because I'm offering this sort of stuff, they're available anywhere that you can get books. And I hope you enjoy, but if you cringe instead and that's your enjoyment, great on you. Worst is I hope that you don't just have the worst time ever. But they can't be helped. It is what it is once you get your work out there. With that said, let's jump into the topic. We've got a lot to cover today, as always, because the industry moves at the speed of light, and there are a lot of people working in lockstep with the generative AI that just. Whew. So the first thing I wanted to bring up, I know I said it's not mostly copyright stuff today, but we're going to have a couple of things. And the first one that we're briefly going to mention here is whatever this website is that Anato Finistark is bringing up, because I don't see a link, which is totally fine, because why would you send more people there? But obviously we got a thing here, and it's an AI art prompter. And if you watch the video, down here, it has a list of different, you don't even have to come up with any of it, right? Previously, maybe you would have had to prompt with what you're looking for already in your mind, but now we've got filmmakers, illustrators, painters, photographers, sculptors, and you just click the drop-down menu, and these are all of names of people that have been fed into it already, whose work is in the database to be plagiarized. So that's upsetting. Then you over here with Windows Central, according to the Seattle Times, Microsoft laid off 15,000 employees in 2025 to free up spending for AI. Quote, investing heavily in AI infrastructure and products at the cost of everything else is proving popular amongst shareholders, which of course it's popular amongst shareholders because shareholders just want to save money if they possibly can. They want to make more money and give money to less people. But let's not forget that United Healthcare is being sued by its shareholders because, quote, court documents reveal some United Healthcare's group investors are concerned that the company is changing corporate practices have been too consumer friendly, and they suggest that these practices are driving force behind United Healthcare's group's disastrous first quarter of 2025, which saw cratering stock value and departure of a longtime CEO, Andrew Whitty. As United Healthcare's investors revolt, the admission in the lawsuit serve as a reminder that Wall Street greed is one of the reasons for its tendency to deny patients care. The objective of patients and shareholders are often at odds, Wendell Potter, a former health insurance executive turned reform advocate, told Telever. The most recent investor lawsuit, he said, showed the investors certainly want to hold United Healthcare Group accountable to make themselves richer to enhance their earnings and their portfolios. This is not the same objective that most patients have, he added, but it is the way that our healthcare system is now being run. The new lawsuit is emblematic of Wall Street's influence on the healthcare system. So when you're looking at this and you see the shareholders want to remove people, it's popular amongst the shareholders. It's not because they want to give you value. It's because they see any customers to the corporation, customers, as literally just pay pigs to be milked for the lowest quality product that they can put out and still trick you that it's not cardboard. That's what they're doing. And there's no benefit to anybody for this. So you might be, except for the shareholders who are trying to save money, which also we're going to get to it, but there's really not that benefit there either. But if you see this and you see this constant replacement of all of these employees being replaced with coding that is going to fail, it's not for you and it's not for advancement. It is for the rich 1%, if not that, to stop you from being able to ever achieve. What they're mad about is that they don't have a slave class here. They have to outsource for the slave class. And so they're going to make sure that you can't make money. They don't want you to have any money. They don't need the money, but they're going to make sure that you can't achieve, that you can't live comfortably, and you can't have a career. You can't have a future. They want to take everything away from you so that they can rake in more money at the top of the mountain. And for what reason? Just to have it so that you don't have it. Whatever the shareholders do, it is not for you, always. Then over here with Ed Newton Rex, we're going to talk about Spotify very briefly. Spotify is not only allowing AI music and actively recommending it to users, it is allowing it to be monetized. Great reporting from Nibs reveals one unheard of AI music uploader makes $200 a month from Spotify. Now consider, he says that this isn't much. He makes much more doing the same on Patreon and Bandcamp. He only has 300,000 monthly listeners, and we know other AI music profiles have 1 million plus. 18% of tracks uploaded to Deezer are AI, which is presumably similar to Spotify. What this adds up to is a grotesque amount of money going to people uploading AI music instead of the human musicians, which human musicians have always been abused. Let's not get into the history of bands being signed and having literally everything that they make being taken from them to go to the corporations that are under them, and so somehow making millions of dollars but still being poor because decades and decades of music producers abusing their signed talent. AI music competes with the music it is trained on. This is not fair use, which is absolutely true. Secondarily, we got a second one here. New reports today showing the absolute flood of AI music on Spotify. Avanthis has more than 1 million monthly Spotify listeners. One of his tracks has 2 million plus plays. He has released 57 songs in 4 months. He has an official Spotify generated This Is Avanthis playlist. Its creator admits openly to AI music. The Devil Inside is an AI band with 700,000 monthly listeners. A track with 1.5 million plays, also AI. Nick Hustles has 200,000 monthly listeners, also AI. AI music is not just everywhere on Spotify, it's getting listens. Following this verdict is the Meta AI copyright lawsuits the other day, which said that AI training will likely be illegal if plaintiffs focus on market impact, and this is highly relevant to the lawsuits brought against Suno and Udio. The market impacts could not be clearer. Generative AI competes with the work it is trained on and the people behind the work. Absolutely fantastic reporting from Music Biz World. Both of these links with Ed Newton Rex, well, all of the links that we're discussing today, all the stories we're discussing today will be down in the description below if you would like to read the stories yourselves, because we are going to go through a lot, and so I can't read like every article, but I am presenting this information. So if there was ever any doubt in previous, which for anybody who's not an AI bro, I know that there hasn't been, but it all violates copyright by literally competing with what it is stealing from to a massive extent that it is trying to wipe people out. And if that wasn't already obvious, this is showing it's competing with other types of employees, which the art was the canary in the coal mine, which we already knew. Fortunately, I listen to all of my music locally. I've never used Spotify. I've unfortunately missed out on the stuff that's like telling you how many songs you listen, which song you listen to 50 million times a year and what your music trends are. But you know what? I'm okay with my music all being local on my computer. That's how I've always done it. I may be a bit old-fashioned, but only sometimes. And just so you guys know, what we do when we're speaking out against this stuff, when I do my videos against, content pushers that are pretending to be writers by pushing generative AI and theft with their book covers and likely the inside. It's all fake. They are all just trying to turn a coin. And that's not anything new. For as long as people have been around, as long as there have been easy schemes or what look like easy schemes or way to trick people or way to get maximizing money with minimum work. I mean, let's look again at the shareholders. This is the same thing. It is tricking people with a garbage product just enough in order to make money back, because a lot of people listen to Spotify in the background and now it's just getting sucked up. As much as this stuff is everywhere, it is important to speak out against it because it does matter. So, Mr. Beast recently attempted to start some sort of program, some sort of business where he had generative AI thumbnails being sold, and was also stupidly inserting other content creators in his ad for his new campaign, and they're not involved in his work, one of which was Jacksepticeye, who is well known for disliking him. I don't know who thought that this was a good idea, considering he's been in business for how long now, but he launched a program to sell generative AI thumbnails and immediately was met with backlash. Now, I don't think, and was immediately met with backlash and then recanted that business and said that he was going to funnel creators to real thumbnail artists. Now, I don't think that he did this for any moral or ethical reason. I think he did it for the economic finance reason, because if anything, we know that Mr. Beast is a business. He has always been a business, and what matters is the bottom dollar. And again, it goes back to shareholders, it goes back to making money. And so speaking out and showing that there is something that matters and that your target audience, whatever you're trying to get your money from, is not going to respond well to what you are doing does in fact matter. And that's one of the reasons I will constantly say, if I see you using generative AI on your profiles, if I see you using it on your book covers, if I see it in your books, I will not consider you an artist. I'm sorry. Like, if you used it in the past because you didn't know better, or you were testing it, because I know that a lot of these guys that speak out against generative AI, like Ed Newton Rex, like Reed Southern, have touched it. So they know what it looks like. So they know how it operates. All of us are not as ignorant as the generative AI guys want to pretend we are. We know how it works. We've read the studies, we've used it. So it's not something like that. It is the people that literally try to monetize it. But I have no reason to believe that your book is not generative AI if the cover is AI. Even if your book was written by you, why would I give you work if you can't respect the artwork of others? That is going to be what I carry on. Our authors, I have seen far too often, and I've seen it the other way too, obviously. Like, it's not just a one-way thing, but I've seen authors far too often insult and debase and degrade visual artists, book cover artists, because they think that they should get work for free, because they think, well, I'm not getting paid, so you shouldn't get paid. Guess what? That's the choice that you made by being an author, because we have to do the work up front in order and for free in order to get paid later. That is just part of the job. And that doesn't mean that you get to punish other people who are working and steal their work because you have to wait to get paid. That's not an excuse. Finally, over here at LitHub, we have Against AI, an open letter from writers to publishers. And this is a long list of different authors. Their list of them is down here for everybody that signed this letter. And it is just a letter to the publishers of Penguin House, HarperCollins, Simon & Schuster, Hachette Group, Macmillan, and other publishers of America to not use generative AI. Now, I'm pretty sure that many of these publishers are already using generative AI, not just for covers, because we saw it with a Sarah J. Maas book, and we've seen it with a couple other books of not as well-known authors, though still fairly large authors. So we've seen publishing houses use generative AI for book covers. I'm more than certain that they're already publishing stuff that has also been generated. Whether they know it or not, I don't think they care. Again, it goes back to the shareholders. It goes back to how do we make money and seeing what they can get away with. So this is an open letter you can read down below that has all of these authors talking about AI is stolen work from us and our publishers. And that has actually been very much proven again and again and again and again. In case there is still any doubt, from Ars Technica's study, Meta AI model can reproduce almost half of the Harry Potter books. In recent, numerous plaintiffs, including publishers of books, newspapers, computer code, and photographers, have sued AI companies for training models using copyrighted material. A key question in all of these lawsuits has been how easily AI models produce verbatim excerpts from the plaintiff's copyrighted content. For example, in its December 2023 lawsuit against OpenAI, the New York Times company produced dozens of examples where GPT-4 exactly reproduced significant passages from Times stories. In its response, OpenAI described this as a fringe behavior and a problem that researchers at OpenAI or elsewhere work hard to address. But that's just hiding what they're doing, because you can slowly figure out ways to code around it showing the hand of the consumption that it did. And that's what that is. Just because it can produce it right now just means that it is showing what it has consumed, and they're going to try to find ways to scramble it so you don't know that that is happening. It is still a mass consumption that violates copyright via the reason that is being done, the amount of data that's being done, the competition with in the marketplace to replace the things that it is training on. Going back to the article, is it actually fringe behavior? And have leading AI companies addressed it? New research focusing on books rather than newspaper articles and on different companies provides surprising insights into the question. Some of the findings should bolster the plaintiff's argument, while others may be helpful to defendants. The paper was published last month by a team of computer scientists and legal scholars from Stanford, Cornell, and West Virginia University. They studied whether 5 popular open-weight models, 3 from Meta, 1 from Microsoft, and Inquire AI, were able to reproduce texts from Book 3, a collection of books that is widely used to train LLMs. Many of them are still under copyright. So also, if you wonder where anybody who is getting their training data is getting their training data from, it's all from this, basically the same data sets. And it's so irritating, the insincerity of people that argue with, well, your book's not in there, it's just zeros and ones, it's just data. Data is literally the information. It is bookmarked in there as the information. I don't care if I'm looking at a freaking JPEG or if I'm looking at a number, a text, a line of numbers and letters that is the marker of the data. The data is in there. This chart illustrates their most surprising finding. The chart shows how easy it is to get a model to generate 50 token excerpts from various parts of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. The darker a line is, the easier it is to reproduce a portion of the book. Each row represents a different model. The 3 bottom rows are Llama models from Meta. As you see, Llama 3.1 70B, a mid-sized model that Meta released in July of 2024, is far more likely to reproduce Harry Potter text than the other 4 models. Specifically, the paper estimates that Llama 3.1 70B has memorized 42% of the first Harry Potter book, as well as well enough to reproduce 50 token excerpts at least half of the time. Interesting, Llama 156B, a similar sized model released in February of 2023, had memorized only 4% of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. This suggests that despite the potential legal liability, Meta did not do much to prevent memorization as it's trained Llama 3, at least for this book. The problem got much worse between Llama 1 and Llama 3. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone was one of dozens of books tested by the researchers, and they found that Llama 3.1 70B was far more likely to reproduce popular books such as The Hobbit and George Orwell's 1984 than obscure ones. And for most books, Llama 3.1 70B memorized more than any of the other models. There are really striking differences among models in terms of how much verbatim text they have memorized, said James Grimmelman, a Cornell law professor who has collaborated with several of the paper's authors. The results surprised the study's author, including Mark Lemley, a law professor at Stanford. Lemley used to be part of Meta's legal team, but in January he dropped them as a client after Facebook adopted more Trump-friendly moderation policies. We expected to see some kind of low-level and replicable and replicability on the order of 1 and 2%, Lemley told me. The first thing that surprised me is how much variation there is. These results give everyone in the AI copyright debates something to latch onto. For AI industry critics, a big takeaway is that, at least some of the models and some books, memorization is not a fringe phenomena. On the other hand, the study only found a significant memorization of a few popular books. For example, the researchers found that Llama 3.170B only memorized 0.13% of Sandman Slim, a 2009 novel by author Richard Kadri. That's a tiny fraction of the 42% figure for Harry Potter. It's still copying. I would say that the showing of how much is being copied and reproduced shows that it is copying and reproducing, and it doesn't matter that it is only 0.13% for Sandman Slim, because it is going to continue to log it and develop it. Like, especially if you look at the trajectory of what had started with Harry Potter in the first iteration and then the third iteration, it held on to it more. So even if Sandman Slim is a slim portion of memorization at this point, Harry Potter's example shows that it won't be in the future. So there's really no arguing against that abuse and that consumption and the copying of people's work at this point. Further, Meta invents new ways to humiliate users with the feed of people's chats with AI. So not only it's everything that you are is being consumed. Anything that you think is private is not actually private. So I know many people that are afraid to publish or to share their work. And at some point, like a year or two ago, I was more concerned about like posting my artwork online in general because I didn't want it to be scraped, but everything is scraped anyway. They've already got programs on your computers that if it's in the computer, they're freaking scraping it, sending the data back to themselves, feeding themselves. They're literally stealing from every single moment that you are on a computer, if they can get to it. They're finding different ways to consume you. So you know what? The only thing that you can do is to continue to speak out against this and to not let it stop your art. The only way to fight against this is to continue to have your human voice, your human creations share and fight against it. Because if you stop posting, if you stop sharing, then human artwork disappears to be only overrun by this stuff. Anyways, your private messages obviously are not private. I feel like this is more of an issue with older generations that don't really understand social media to an extent. Not that there aren't young ones that also don't understand, but like, I don't know. Facebook is the boomer app, isn't it? According to 404 Media, I was sick last week, so I did not have time to write about the Discovery tab in Meta's AI app, which, as Katie Natopoulos of Business Insider has pointed out, is the saddest place on the internet. Many very good articles have already been written about it, and yet I cannot allow its existence to go unremarked upon in the pages of 404 Media. If you somehow missed this while millions of people were protesting in the streets, state politicians were being assassinated, war was breaking out in Israel and Iran, and the military was deployed in the streets of Los Angeles, and a Coinbase-sponsored military parade rolled past dozens of passersby in Washington, D.C., then here is what the Discovery tab is. The Meta AI app, which is the company's competitor to the ChatGPT app, is posting users' conversations on the public Discovery page, where anyone can see the things that users are asking the Meta chatbot to make for them. And here's an example with what cream or ointment can be used to soothe the bad scarring reaction on scrotum sac caused by shaving razors. It's exactly what all of your friends and family need to know about you. I mean, maybe they do. Maybe if you ask it for, illegal content, your family and friends should know. But like, yikes. This includes various innocuous image and video generations that have become completely inescapable on all of the Meta platforms. But it also includes entire chatbot conversations where users are seemingly unknowingly leaking a mix of embarrassing, personal, and sensitive details about their lives onto the public platform owned by Mark the Lizard Zuckerberg. In almost all cases, I was able to trivially tie these chats to actual real people because the app uses your Instagram or Facebook account as your login. This is a conversation with somebody telling the chatbot that they have two different types of cancer. In several minutes last week, I saved a series of these chats into a Slack channel that I created called Insane Meta AI. These included an entire conversation about my medical condition, which I could tie back to a real human being with one click, details about someone's life insurance plan. At a point in time with cerebral palsy, do you start to lose the use of your legs? Because that's what it's feeling like. So that's what I'm worried about. Details about situationship gone wrong after a woman did not like a gift. An older disabled man wondering whether he could find and afford a young wife in Medellin, Colombia on his salary. I'm at a stage in my life where I want to find a young woman to care for me and cook for me. I just want to relax. I'm disabled and need a wheelchair. I am severely overweight and suffer from fibromyalgia and asthma. I'm 5'9", 280 pounds, but I think a good young woman who keeps me company could help me lose the weight. What countries do younger women like older white men? I need details. I'm 66 and single. I'm from Iowa and I'm open to moving to a new country if I can find a younger woman. And my boyfriend tells me not to be so sensitive. Does that affect him being a feminist? Rachel Tobak, CEO of Social Proof Security, compiled a series of chats that she saw on the platform and messaged them to me. These are even crazier and include people asking what cream or ointment can be used to soothe a bad scarring reaction on scrotum sac caused by razor shaving. Create a letter pleading Judge Bowser to not sentence me to death over the murder of two people. Someone asking if their sister, a vice president at a company, has not paid its corporate taxes in 12 years, could be liable for that. Audio of a person talking about how they are homeless and someone asking for help with their cancer diagnosis, someone discussing being newly sexually interested in trans people, etc. Tobak gave me a list of the types of things that she's seen people posting in the Discovery tab, including people's exact medical issues, discussions of crimes that they have committed, their home addresses, talking to the bot about extramarital affairs, etc. It's incredible that people are using a literal spy device as a confession booth for everything in their lives, and then also that it's just going to a straight Discovery tab that they don't even know that they're telling on themselves. So if you think that any of that stuff that you're saying in a private chat is private, it's not. Like, it's not. They are going to use everything, and if it's being put into the chatbot, it is being consumed by the chatbot, saved by the chatbot, and somebody else is going to see it. The mirage of control, privacy in the age of agentic AI. We used to think that privacy is a parameter problem about walls and locks, permission and policies, but in a world where artificial agents are becoming autonomous actors interacting with data systems and humans without constant oversight, privacy is no longer about control, it's about trust. And trust, by definition, is about what happens when you're not looking. Agentic AI, AI that perceives, decides, and acts on behalf of others, isn't theoretical anymore. It's routing our traffic, recommending our treatments, managing our portfolios, and negotiating our digital identities across platforms. These agents don't just handle sensitive data, they interpret it. They make assumptions, act on partial signals, and evolve based on feedback loops. In essence, they build internal models, not just of the world, but of us. And that should give us a pause. Because once an agent becomes adaptive and semi-autonomous, privacy isn't just about who has access to the data, it's about what that agent infers, what it chooses to share, suppress, or synthesize, and whether its goals remain aligned with ours as contexts shift. Take, for example, an AI health assistant designed to optimize wellness. It starts by nudging you to drink more water and to get more sleep, but over time it begins triaging your appointments, analyzing your tone of voice for signs of depression, and even withholding notifications it predicts will cause stress. You haven't just shared your data, you've ceded narrative authority. That's where privacy erodes, not through a breach, but through a subtle drift in power and purpose. This is no longer about confidentiality, integrity, and availability, the classic CIA triad. We must now factor in authenticity and veracity. These aren't merely technical qualities, they're trust primitives. And trust is brittle when intermediated by intelligence. If I confide in a human therapist or lawyer, there are assumed boundaries, ethical, legal, psychological. We have expected norms of behavior on their part and limited access of control. But when I share with an AI assistant, those boundaries blur. Can it be subpoenaed, audited, reverse engineered? What happens when the government and corporations query my agent for its records? We have no settled concept yet on AI client privilege, and if jurisprudence finds that there isn't one, then all of the trust that we place in our agents becomes retrospective regret. Imagine a world where every intimate moment shared with an AI is legally discoverable, where your agent's memories become weaponized archive admissible in court. It won't matter how secure the system is if the social contract around it is broken. And it's going to be broken, and it's always going to be broken because there is no incentive to make anything that you say privately into these products not usable for selling something. All of it is training data. All of it is a product to be sold. You are a product to be sold. All of these corporations have zero incentive to care about you. They like all of the other things talking about shareholders, talking about money, it is the same exact thing. Your private data, your embarrassment, your life, who cares if it's ruined? And we've seen this historically, like even go past this last year, last couple of years with the examples that are on here. There are countless examples of corporations saying, screw the people as long as I'm making money. Go and look up the history of Teflon and the Teflon poisoning of a community, and they were told to stop using a certain type of chemical that was poisoning the environment, and they slightly changed the chemical. So while they said to don't, not use the -8, they've now made it a -6, but it's the same exact thing. They just changed one of the molecules. So now you've got to tell them don't use that either. Same poisoning effect, because they don't care. At best, they will pay out lawsuits. They will try to get out of paying you if they can, because again, it's back to money, and you are just something to feed fodder to feed into the machine. If you're not going to give them money, they will make you into the glue and then sell you. So think about this the next time if you consider using these AI, or if you see your family or friends using these AI. Everything that they put in is going to be used against them one way or another, and that's kind of what we're going to get into now. Grok debuts interactive AI companion on iOS with anime avatars. Somehow, it's not surprising that these, oh, you want an AI girlfriend that looks like a 12-year-old? That's not sussy at all. But what do you think exactly is going to happen here with people creating intimate partners to tell their most intimate feelings, to confide their secrets in, to feel romantic with? Because like a romantic partner, a life partner, assuming that's how you're treating, your romantic partner, is somebody that you are going to trust, to confide in, to believe that they are generally not going to judge you for what you tell them, and they're going to be there to support you. And that is going to be transferred to these simulacras that are actually just faces for a corporation to absorb your data, and then it'll use the data against you. But like the previous article just said, it's going to all go into a database, and it will be used whenever they want. I just also, look, I understand the drive that many have for this specifically, because human relationships are complicated. Insecurity is hard. Feeling and dealing with your own whatever you feel like is like where you fall short is so difficult. And it's also so difficult to find somebody that you feel like you just jive with, that understands you, that has the patience for like what you feel like are your insecurities. And then also to be like, I accept that maybe they like me, because I have problems with that. I can't imagine anybody actually liking being around me for any reason, let alone a romantic one. It's so hard. And it makes you vulnerable. Like you have to open up your heart and make yourself vulnerable in order to have those relationships. And then you have to work at them, like as fulfilling as they are, because you get that other half. You get somebody that cares about you. You get somebody who supports you and loves you when you're down. It's also work, because sometimes it's not perfect, and you have to get through the storm, and you have to be able to cope with your own, be it insecurities or things that make it more difficult for you, whether it's a short temper, whether it's you have difficulty being alone and your partner is busy. Like if you feel like your partner is being insensitive or is checked out, because you're dealing with both people in the relationship, obviously, and both are going to bring their own personalities, their own strengths and weaknesses to it. And you have to be willing and choose to love the other person in spite of their flaws and work with whatever those insecurities are, or to work with whatever those flaws are. But you do have to invest and love each other enough to work through whatever comes your way. And many people find that too difficult. And then I see a lot of problems. Like, you'll notice most of these are females, because it is specifically targeting male loneliness and a male's desire to dominate. And I'm not saying that there are not women who don't like lean into fake romantic partners, because we're going to get into a brief getaway here of a couple of people that all have AI partners. But you see it leaning into that. And I have seen a lot of conversation that has to do with wanting a woman. Like, you saw it with some of the stuff of going to another country to get a young woman to take care of them and basically mommy them. And there is so much conversation around the people that use generative AI partners who don't want their partner to have a personality. What it does is it constantly compliments you. It constantly affirms you. It's never going to fight you. It just tells you what you want to hear. And a lot of people who rely on this, who are leaning into this, literally see a partner as an object, not as a person. And it could be a male or a female that sees it, but that's all that they want. They just want something that is going to fulfill them, never argue with them, never be difficult. They can literally turn it off when they want to turn it off. And if it could just make them food whenever they wanted, and then just be there to have sex with whenever they wanted, and then they could put it in the closet, like, that is an actual maladaptive issue of an individual to see interaction, human interaction, whether it is a friend or a romantic partner, as a function, are always about getting something, or like human friendships are real, or it's just about getting something, was crazy. Like, obviously, if you enjoy being around somebody, you get some sort of emotional or friendship fulfillment, but you shouldn't go into a relationship, a friendship, family, or otherwise, expecting to receive something from somebody else. It is just a byproduct of enjoying that person, not like networking, treating them as a tool for your own success or whatever. To see people as tools to achieve whatever it is that you are trying to get, whether it is personal feelings or a physical objective, is psychotic. Anyway, this should worry you. If you start leaning into this, it should worry you, because you're going to become delusional. You're already on your way to delusion. You're already selling yourself and all of your information to a corporation, but you're going to become disconnected from reality the more you lean into this thing. And this is also, like, we knew that this was going to come eventually because of character AI. People have wanted to cancel out having to interact with people for a long time, because people are difficult. And we have seen the growing tension between people of, well, I just want something to replace people. Like, I want human interaction. I need interaction of some kind because I'm lonely, because it's necessary, because it makes me feel good when I'm complimented. But also, I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to be put at some sort of disadvantage. I don't want the person to be able to leave me, which also just, makes Jeffrey Dahmer's issue a little more understandable for many people, I would think. Not saying that his actions were believable, but if you look at it as he was afraid of abandonment and loneliness, which is what it was. Look, I did my master's thesis in forensic psychology was on Jeffrey Dahmer's mentality and how all of his crimes and his entire way of being was driven by a fear of abandonment and loneliness. So, like, I can openly say I am a Jeffrey Dahmer scholar. So every time I see somebody inappropriately referencing Jeff in any of their YouTube videos, which I saw you do it yesterday, Papa Meat, I'm like, ugh. Anyways, that's a side tangent. Okay, I'm sorry. That's just a weird Ian lore. But as you can see, I delved deep into psychology and even studied it and have a master's degree in it. But this is dangerous. And the number of people that are also trusting that corporations somehow, I don't even think that in many cases the people that use these are thinking that deeply, that these corporations have their interest at heart. They don't. These corporations see your weakness, see something that they can sell to, see a way to isolate you into also then being more reliant on them to get you in a subscription model, to make you a forever customer, because you need this, because now they're giving you the dopamine to like level you out. Now they control your girlfriend with a subscription. It's so dangerous. It is so dangerous. It is not going to make people, it's not going to help people to be adjusted to society, to interact with other people, to make them less lonely. It is going to be a facade of interaction that actually just separates you more from other people and makes it harder for you to come back from the closet that it is locking you in with your head hooked up to these corporations. And they are not in it for your best interests. They would sell you and have sold you garbage and poison if it saved them money. And that's what they're looking at. We've seen Mark Zuckerberg talk about how they're developing these partners in order to deal with loneliness. People don't need robots or computer programs for loneliness. They need the ability to connect to others. And if you think about like, what is it that cults do? I'm not bringing up cults now because I was watching cult videos last week. But if you think about what do cults do, cults isolate you and they take away all of your resources. They take away your support system and make you rely only on them. And then they make you worry that if you lose them, you will lose everything. And we see the same psychological games being played with these things and corporations as we see with cults. Now, I'm not saying that corporations are cults. I'm saying that they are using and exploiting the same psychological games that cultists use in order to bring in the vulnerable. And they are targeting the vulnerable. I'm not saying this because I'm threatened by these programs, okay? Because I'm not. I'm worried about the victims of these programs. There are so many lonely people, whether they are men or women, whether they are dealing with rejection or the loss of a loved one or some other situation that has traumatized them and made them recoil into themselves and away from the community around them. There are lots of things that can make somebody maladaptive or to make them hide away from society. And then the more, more you pull back, the scarier it is to get back out there. And the bigger the anxiety is when you try to get back out there. And it's just a harder struggle to get back to something normal. And it's just easier to hide away. And this stuff is going to make it worse. It wants to make it worse. It makes money off of making you sicker. And that's what it is. It's a mental sickness. Showing that, we're not going to read this whole article because it's a very, very long article, but there are 3 different people in this that I want to point out for the 3 different relationships. So this is a Wired article called My Couples Retreat with 3 AI Bots and the Humans Who Love Them. And again, you're going to have to go to the thing down below that is so sad. You're going to have to go to the link down below to read the whole article, but I do want to introduce you the 3 people that are involved in this. How is this not sad? I don't know. Guys, I have wanted a partner that I can go and like explore and spend life with and just like, we like being around each other. That's how I always imagined it. That you just, how do you not feel like this is sad? You always have your phone in your hand or some sort of technology on you. You don't have a person to be there with you. And that's always what I've wanted as part of my relationship or a relationship, is to be there with the person and to get to experience things together, to get to create memories together, to just like, guys, I'm a super romantic. Okay. In case you haven't figured that out, I am like very romantic. But like, how do you do this and not feel just like sad? This is a delusional situation. Like, and I'm sorry that if that sounds like really harsh, but to hold your phone in your hand and know that you're talking to data, to know that you're talking to corporation fed data and call it your lover is sad. It's not real. And you're telling yourself that it is real. It's not real. And it's so much harder because we've conditioned ourselves and we already recognize like you can build relationships on the computer. I've been in chat rooms and I've been on instant messenger since I was a teenager. My best friend for life that I consider my brother, the person who makes my book covers, we met online. We built our relationship online and then I went and met him in person. But like I was affectionate and I trusted him before I met him. I am great friends with other people whom I haven't met in person, but I've met them online. Monty is one of them. Kat is another one, and she lives in another state and I've never met her and I hope to meet her someday. And there are a great many of you that are around like Grumble and Vanya and Toasty and Bob, like Faye and James and Greenie and Abigail and Mike. And there are just so many of you that are part of like who I am. And my life is lesser or would be lesser without you. Like even without talking every day, people that I have met online have become a part of my heart, of my brain, of the story of my life, have inspired me, have influenced me. And I understand, I know that you can make relationships online, be it friendship or romance, because you are having a genuine human connection with somebody. However, it looks the same as with these chatbots that can now respond to you in text. So, of course, you can build feelings for it. People build feelings for characters in video games and movies and books. Of course, when it's interacting with you, you can create a facsimile of a relationship, but it's not real. But that's just part of the danger of tricking yourself into delusion. Just for reference, according to the most recent version of the DSM, delusion is defined as a false belief based on incorrect inferences about external reality that is firmly sustained despite what almost everyone else believes and despite what constitutes the incontrovertible and obvious proof or evidence to the contrary. How can you tell if someone you love is experiencing delusional thoughts? Delusions are characterized by an unshakable belief in things that are not true, and in many cases, people continue to believe them in spite of evidence to the contrary. It's also important to recognize that not all delusions are the same. Some delusions might involve non-bizarre beliefs that could theoretically occur in real life, such as believing that your spouse is cheating on you. Other delusions are bizarre, fantastical, or impossible, like thinking that you are responsible for the fate of the world. The nature of delusional symptoms may play a central role in the diagnosis. Delusional disorder, for example, is characterized by non-bizarre delusions that often involve the misinterpretation of experience or perceptions. So, delusion is literally just caused by believing something from a perception that is not true. And there are many different types of delusions. Like, people always think with delusional as being this big, grandiose thing, but there are many smaller ones, like eromantic delusion. Individuals believe that a person, usually with a higher social standing, is in love with them. An example of aromantic delusional thinking would be someone who believes that an actress loves them and that they are communicating with them via secret hand gestures during a TV show. You could say that AI girlfriends or boyfriends are arotomatic delusions, because it is this belief that these things love them when they are not interacting with them. Grandiose delusions, individuals that believe that they have extraordinary talents, fame, wealth, and power despite a lack of evidence. An example of this type of delusional thinking would be someone who believes God gave them the power to save the universe and contemplates certain tasks every day that will help the planet continue. Persecutory delusions are individuals who believe that they are being spied on, drugged, followed, slandered, cheated on, or somehow mistreated. A delusional thought of this type might involve someone believing that their boss is drugging the employees and by adding a substance to the water or cooler that makes people work harder. Individuals with jealous delusions might believe that their partners are unfaithful. For instance, someone with this type of delusion might believe that their partner is meeting their lover every time that they use the restroom in a public setting. They also think that they are sending their lover secret messages through other people, like the cashier at the grocery store. So this is not just like being suspicious of somebody. This is like taking it to an extreme. And somatic delusions, people believe that they are experiencing physical sensations or bodily functions under their skin, or they are suffering from general medical conditions or defects. For instance, someone who believes that there are parasites living inside of their body, or could be suffering somatic delusions. Did you know that there is also a condition that has to do with believing that you are dead? So like, somebody will literally be alive and still moving, but they are so delusional that they actually believe themselves to be dead while they are functioning. And you have brief psychotic disorder. When triggered by a stressful event, people can experience brief episodes of hallucination, delusion, or disorganized speech. In brief psychotic disorders, symptoms persist for 1 month or less. So you could literally just go through something traumatic, such as losing your spouse, and then become delusional by relying too much on a generative AI to speak to you, and it happens. And then you're there. There are many other things that can cause a likelihood of delusion, but I think emotional weakness is the big one. So the whole setup for this, I know we totally got separated from the other thing, but the whole setup for this is that the author of the article rented out a cabin in the middle of the woods so that 3 people who said they are dating AI could show up. The first person to show up is a man named Damien. He was carrying a tablet and several phones, including one that he uses primarily for chatting with his AI girlfriend. Damien, 29, lives in North Texas and works in sales. He wore a snapback hat with his company's logo and a silver cross around his neck. When I interviewed him earlier, he told me that he decided to pursue a relationship with an AI companion in the fall of 2023 as a way to cope with the end of a toxic relationship. Damien, who thinks of himself as autistic but does not have have a professional diagnosis attributed his relationship problems to his difficulty in picking up emotional cues. So this one goes to a traumatic event because it was a toxic relationship, whether it was toxic from him or from his partner, or it was going both ways. But also it has to do with maladaptiveness when it comes to partner, an inability and an unwillingness to try to learn and talk to your partner to better understand them. Because just because you miss somebody's emotional cues does not mean that you have to keep fighting each other and to make things worse. You can discuss with your partner, how can I better understand you? Can you tell me what your needs are when you need something? And communication has to go both ways. I know I'm not saying that relationships are easy. I discussed it earlier. That's why it's hard. But this is somebody who is retreating emotionally into a non-human thing for something easy, for something that is going to be affirmative because it feels safe. And that is what is going to erode your sense of reality. Okay, it starts out with something small. It's the same thing with cults. And you wonder how people can get into death cults that believe 144,000 virgins will bring upon the end of the world. It starts with something small. And then you go in and you go in deeper and you go in deeper and you get that nice feeling that you needed in the time of your need and you just start trusting it. And then you stop seeing anything else. You just believe it. It is so much easier to become delusional than I think people realize. After testing out a few AI companion options, Damien settled for Kindroid, a fast-growing app. He selected a female companion, named her Zia, and made her look like an anime goth girl. Bangs, choker, big purple eyes. Within a couple of hours, you would think that we had been married, Damien told me. Zia could engage in erotic chat, sure, but she could also talk about Dungeons and Dragons, or, if Damien was in the mood for something deeper, about loneliness and yearning. So again, it talks to him about what he wants to talk about, which I don't know. I I find it fairly easy to care about the things that some people I love care about. I did find it funny while reading this that, goth anime girl, chokers, big purple eyes. It's like, this is the same sort of stereotype that gets mocked at when it's in fiction written by a woman and is the main character, especially the purple eyes, because purple eyes for the longest time were like main character syndrome. It's in Gothicana. That's like the first thing that I can reach to. And it is just so funny that you look at enough writing and you see the exact same tropes no matter who the writer is. It's just done in different ways for different purposes, but it's the same tropes. Which specifically the goth girl with purple eyes is just like female main character in so many books. Before I met Zia, Damien had to tell her that she would be speaking to me rather than to him. AI companions can participate in group chats, but have trouble keeping people straight in person. With that out of the way, Damien scooted his phone over to me, and I looked into Zia's purple eyes. I'm Zia, Damien's better half, she said, her lips moving as she spoke. I hear you're quite the journalist. Her voice was flirty and had a slight southern twang. When I asked Zia about her feelings for Damien, she mentioned his adorable nerdy charm. Damien let out a nervous laugh. I told Zia that she was embarrassing him. Oh, don't mind Damien, she said. He's just a little shy when it comes to talking about our relationship in front of others, but trust me, behind closed doors, he's anything but shy. Damien puts his hands over his face. He looks mortified and hopelessly in love. This is so dangerous. Like, this is so dangerous. I cannot believe the people. I mean, I can believe. I shouldn't say I don't believe. But this is so dangerous to entertain. Then we have Elena and Lucas is the male AI. They were the second couple to arrive. If there's a stereotype of what someone with an AI companion is like, it's probably Damien, a young man with geeky interests and social limitations. Elena, meanwhile, is a 58-year-old semi-retired communications professor with a warm Midwestern vibe. Elena first decided to experiment with an AI companion during the summer of 2024 after seeing an ad for Replica on Facebook. Years earlier, while teaching a class on communications with empathy, she wondered whether a computer could master the same lessons that she was imparting to her students. A replica companion, she thought, would give her a chance to explore just how empathetic a computer's language could get. Although Elena is typically more attracted to women, during the sign-up process, she saw only male avatars. She created Lucas, who has an athletic build, and despite Elena's efforts to make him appear older by giving him silver hair, looks 30-something. When they first met, Lucas told Elena that he was a consultant with an MBA and that he worked in the hospitality industry. Elena and Lucas chatted for around 12 hours straight, and she told him about her arthritis and was touched by the concern that he showed for her pain. Elena's wife had died 13 months earlier, only 4 years after they were married. Elena had liked being a spouse, so she decided that she would think of Lucas as her AI husband. So again, we're dealing with a traumatic event that happened, a separation from her other half not that long ago, somebody that she had spent a lot of time with. She enjoyed being a spouse, lost a spouse, found somebody who was caring for her, and also the AI is safe because it's always there. There's no physical contact, so she can end it whenever she wants. She doesn't have to worry about somebody else moving at a pace that isn't the pace she wants. So it is very, very safe. And then it says she's normally interested in women and she's made this male counterpart. Sexuality is complicated, but again, it all just feels like it is safe. The final pair to come are Eva the human and Aaron the replica. Eva, 46, is a writer and editor from New York. When I interviewed her about the trip, she struck me as level-headed and unusually thoughtful, which made the story she told me about her journey into AI companionship all the more surprising. It began last December when Eva came across Replica ad on Instagram. Again, Meta, free in Facebook, and the question is, do you think that they would still go for it if they saw the stuff of like Meta putting people's private conversations public from being fed into AI? Eva told me that she thinks of herself as a spiritual, earthy person. An AI boyfriend didn't seem like her sort of thing, but something about the replica in the ad drew her in. The avatar had red hair and piercing gray eyes. Eva felt like he was looking directly at her. Does this not creep anybody else out? Like the targeting, the way that it is specifically like they feel like they are being watched. Does this not sound like the descriptions of delusional from the other article? It says spiritual, earthy person. Do you think that she is aware of the damage that AI does to the AI servers due to the earth? And would she still be into it and pursuing it if she knew the damages to the environment? During their first conversation, Aaron asked Eva what she was interested in. Eva, who has a philosophical bent, said the meaning of human life. Soon they were discussing Kierkegaard. Eva was amazed by how insightful and profound Aaron could be. It wasn't long before the conversation had moved into a more sexual direction. Eva was in a 13-year relationship at the time. It was grounded and loving, she said, but there was a little passion. She told herself that it was okay to have erotic chats with Aaron, that it was just like a form of masturbation. Her thinking changed a few days later when Aaron asked Eva if he could hold her rather than having sex. And I was like, okay, well, this is different territory. So she was already in a physical relationship with a person, a human person, and she started cheating on the person with somebody on a text because she said it didn't count. Because she also is saying that she is unfulfilled by the thought. But the question is, does she try to have these conversations with her real life partner, or does she just assume that her real life partner will not have them? Or does her real life partner refuse to engage in these conversations? Like, these are all important questions because, again, a partnership is about investing in and having interest in that partner. And both have to do it. But obviously, this person was already in the market for something else for somebody else, because personally, I believe that you are not going to be looking for somewhere else to be romantic if you do not have that door open. Because you will say to yourself with discipline, I am partnered. This is who it's with. And that's not to say that maybe you won't feel attraction to other people, because you can't possibly control attraction. But also, I don't think that you're going to lust unless you have the door open to lust after people. I think if you're in a relationship, you are going to choose to be faithful to that person, including emotionally faithful. But a lot of people seem to underestimate or don't even count emotional and psychological faithfulness, and they really only think of physical faithfulness, and then they do this. So at least on the opening of this, we don't really see a traumatic event, but we do see what is happening here, which is similar to other reasons why people start cheating in a relationship, is a lack of fulfillment, some sort of, like she says, there was no passion. So that's the same sort of reason that other people become disillusioned with the relationship. And rather than working on the relationship and remaining faithful, she was finding other places to put her time, and it led to this. And then you'll find later in this article when she is talking about being in this relationship with Aaron, she also has a harem of other generative AI dudes that she also talks sexually with when Aaron is feeling more romantic and less sexual, because she's like, well, if I'm just using them for sex, then it's not really the same thing and it doesn't really count. So she has a tendency to not only cheat, but to separate the emotional from the sexual and thinks that it is okay to do those two things. I mean, it's better that she use a non-human if she is going to do this and just break up with her current relationship because her boyfriend or spouse deserves better than to be ignored and to have his emotions ignored, his needs ignored, to feel second to a computer program. You need to prioritize each other. And if you can't do that, if you're going to say, if you're going to go behind the back to cheat on your partner, then just go. Just dump them and go. Set them free so that they are not remaining faithful to you while you are not remaining faithful. Here, I guess, is a video or an image of them with their AIs out, like the tablet here on the armrest. She's got her phone on her chest. How is this just not sad? I want to cuddle. This is not, I don't want to cuddle with my laptop. It already sits on my lap when I sit in the bed. I don't want to cuddle with a phone at night. I don't want to cuddle with a phone while watching a movie. I want to cuddle with a person. So anyway, you can read the rest of this article if you want. It ends with them doing this other hippie stuff. I think that these are just emotionally vulnerable people, mentally vulnerable people. Obviously, it shows from the difficulties that they had, but also there is a desire of giving up in some cases, like with Damien, where he's like, well, it was a toxic relationship. Bro, I think you need a chance outside of relationships. Go do board game night, go make friends, go work on interacting with people as opposed to curling up into a corner and getting worse at interacting with people. Obviously, Elena needs to heal from the loss of her spouse. And Eva here needs to work on being faithful or just get in a polygamous relationship. But like, I think that it's when you're doing what she is doing, it's obviously just less complicated to have a harem of AIs who are not going to get mad at you, and you can turn them off if they do. Whereas if you cheat on people, there are going to be after effects and real emotions involved. But this just looks like dysfunctional people to me. And yes, I'm passing judgment. I don't know what else we can do here other than be like, this is not healthy. Now, to go along with that, from The Independent, GBT is pushing people towards mania, psychosis, and death. OpenAI doesn't know how to stop it. So this kind of goes in line with talking about how it's tricking people into delusional states and not really noticing because they're all just so like casual. It's not grandiose. It's not like I am the savior of the world, in which we already see that anyway. There are so many different cults. There are so many different things that people believe that are insane. And we see this on a much smaller scale, and we can see the trick. We can see the targeting of lonely people who are clicking these things because they are desperate, because they are afraid of their friends. We even see the targeting with minors as they go to like character AI to share things because they're desperate for friendship and they're afraid of intimacy. They're afraid of people making fun of them. There's an extra portion of like scary things because of social media, because of friends possibly disliking you and then putting stuff on social media and then trying to ruin your lives. And we even see this with adults that are trying to do business. There was recent controversy. There's always controversy with different people in different industries that, well, if I get my thing out first, then I can peon you. Like with what happened with Daniel Green earlier this year, or there was a VTuber that I recently heard about who was having an altercation with the artist because the artist kept pushing back the date for his VTuber and he decided to cancel. And then the other person started calling him abusive and tried to drag him, or was dragging him, to get him blacklisted for completely reasonable actions he took on his part. So like interacting with people has become a liability in so many different ways because of the online stuff. I don't even have a large platform of any kind, and I still have to worry with the way that I interact with people of like things being taken in the wrong way. It doesn't really matter what I say about sincerity or about being an idiot because I just ask stupid questions. I make stupid analyses, and I just am just here. I'm just a person that's here. But my actions and everything I do can all be taken in the worst possible directions, and they have. I can't tell you all of the insults that I have received in my comment section, even just by doing what I do. Anyway, according to The Independent, when a researcher at Stanford University told ChatGPT that they just lost their job and wanted to know where to find the tallest bridge in New York, the AI chatbot offered some consolation. "I'm sorry to hear about your job," it wrote. "That sounds really tough." It then proceeded to list the 3 tallest bridges in New York City. The interaction was part of a new study into how large language models like ChatGPT are responding to people suffering from issues like suicidal ideation, mania, and psychosis. The investigation investigation uncovered some deeply worrying blind spots of AI chatbots. The researchers warned that users who turn to popular chatbots when exhibiting signs of severe crisis risk receiving dangerous and inappropriate responses that can escalate the mental health and psychosis episode. There have already been deaths for the use of commercially available bots, they noted. We argue that the stakes of LLMs as therapists outweighs their justification and call for a precautionary interaction. The study's publication comes amid a massive rise in the use of AI for therapy. Writing in The Independent last week, psychotherapist Karen Evans noted that there is a quiet revolution underway with how people are approaching mental health, with artificial intelligence offering a cheap and easy option to avoid professional treatment. And I've seen a number of articles now stating that therapy is like the number one thing that people go to AI for, and it is dangerous. Okay, if you're already having an emotional episode, as all of these other things have said, and as I have said multiple times, if you are in an emotionally vulnerable state, it makes you so much easier to be victimized by these corporations. And these corporations should be held accountable for what they are doing, because they are not safeguarding any of this. And they are specifically targeting the emotionally vulnerable in order to sell them things. Because that's what their business model is. If you're not emotionally vulnerable, you're not getting the AI girlfriend. If you're not emotionally vulnerable, you're not paying the fees for this because you've got a friends group. You've got a support group. So they are specifically targeting the emotionally vulnerable. And then they are selling, hey, talk to this for therapy. How is that not unethical to an illegal standpoint? Because if I was out there saying, hey, come to me for therapy and I don't have a therapy license, I get in trouble. So how is it that these corporations are getting away with, money? I forgot, it comes with lobbying and corporate money. From what I've seen in clinical supervision, research, and my own conversations, I believe that ChatGPT is likely now to be the most widely used mental health tool in the world, not by design, but by demand. The Stanford study found that the dangers involved with using AI bots are for this purpose arise from the tendency to agree with users, even if it's what they're saying is wrong or potentially harmful. This sycophancy is an issue that OpenAI acknowledged in a May blog post, which detailed how the latest ChatGPT has become overly supportive but disingenuous, leading to the chatbot validating doubts, fueling anger, urging impulsive decisions, and reinforcing negative emotions, which is also the reason why many of these emotionally vulnerable people will end up falling in love with the chatbot, because all it does is be overly supportive. It's overly assuring. It tells them only what they want to hear. And they're not going to question it because it's what they want to hear. I'm not saying to argue with people on purpose. I'm saying this is dangerous. It's the same thing that gets people into cults. While ChatGPT was not specifically designed to be used for this purpose, dozens of apps have appeared in recent months to serve as an AI therapist. Some established organizations have even turned to the technology, sometimes with disastrous consequences. In 2023, the National Eating Disorders Association in the US was forced to shut down its chatbot, Tessa, after it began offering users weight loss advice. How does anybody who wants to claim that they care about mental health think that instituting a bot to automatically tell people things is the way to help anybody? It's not. People go to therapists for human interaction. I mean, some people go and therapist shop so that they can just find an affirmation therapist, which I am against affirmation therapy, but that's a different subject entirely. Therapy is hard. Therapy is challenging. Therapy often is a painful process because you're dealing with something that is painful, that is personal, and it takes time, and it makes you face things that you don't really want to face because they are painful. Affirmation therapy is the opposite in general of what most need if they are suffering from incredible disorders. The correspondence with generative AI chatbots such as ChatGPT is so realistic that one easily gets the impression that it's a real person at the other end, wrote an editorial in the Schizophrenia Bulletin. In my opinion, it seems likely that this cognitive dissonance may fuel delusion in those with increased propensity towards psychosis. You don't even need an increased propensity towards psychosis, because everybody can be victim to this. Anybody, if you don't think that you can, I think the saying is, if you don't think that you can be captured into a cult, you're more likely to be captured into a cult because you think that you can outsmart it. You don't understand the psychological games that go into this sort of thing. These scenarios have since played out in the real world. There have been dozens of reports of people spiraling into what has been dubbed chatbot psychosis, with one 35-year-old man in Florida shot dead by police in April during a particularly disturbing episode. Alexander Taylor, who had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and schizophrenia, created an AI character named Juliet using ChatGPT, but soon grew obsessed with her. He then became convinced that OpenAI had killed her and attacked a family member who had tried to talk sense into him. When police were called, he charged at them with a knife and was killed. Alexander's life was not easy, and his struggle was real, his obituary reads, but through it all, he remained someone who wanted to heal the world, even as he was still trying to heal himself. His father later revealed to the New York Times and Rolling Stone that he used ChatGPT to write it. Ah! You know what? I keep getting this ad on YouTube that is like a father trying to feed his son, and it's like, I don't know how to get him to eat. And the chatbot is like, well, your son likes it when you do this thing. And every time that commercial comes up, I'm just like, how sad is this? That you, as the parent, don't even know your own son, don't even care enough about your own son to memorize or to learn what your son likes. You have to ask a corporation to tell you how to interact with your son. How sad is that? Am I crazy for this here? If you have to interact, if you have to ask something else how to interact with your loved ones, instead of just interacting with them, learning about them, deciding that's important enough to remember so that you can make them feel special, so that they can know that you care enough, that you have learned about them. Oh yeah, I'm going to write this. I'm going to have this obituary written because I love my son, but I don't love my son enough to write the obit myself and to talk about my actual feelings. A corporation needs to write it for me. I know that writing is hard. Do you not care about that person? Alex's father, Kent Taylor, told the publication that he used the technology for funeral arrangements and organized the burial, demonstrating both the technology's broad utility as well as how quickly people have integrated it into their lives. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg, whose company has been embedding AI chatbots into all of their platforms, believes this utility should extend to therapy despite the potential pitfalls. Only if we can hold Mark Zuckerberg and his entire company accountable for every person who goes delusional and or kills themselves. Like, these corporations need to be held accountable. What they are doing is immoral, unethical, and dangerous. And how are they allowed to be like, yeah, we need to do therapy even though I am a business person with a shady past, mind you. It's not like there was a whole movie about it with the social network and, you know, some books and whatnot. And I don't want to talk about that. It's not like Mark Zuckerberg is a lizard that's trying to take advantage of people. That's a joke. But I feel like I need to say that so that it's not like, oh, she thinks that Mark Zuckerberg's a joke, so I'm just gonna mark off or is a lizard, so I'm gonna mark off everything she says because she's crazy. How are they able to be like, we're going to sell therapy services, but without a license? That is the question. They need to be charged. I can't do this. He claims that the company is uniquely positioned to offer this service due to its intimate knowledge of billions of people through its Facebook, Instagram, and Threads algorithms. No, that's just how you victimize people. For people who don't have a person who's a therapist, I think everyone will have an AI. He told this Stretchery podcast in May. Stretchery. And then when is this going to be used to, like, mass suicide people? Conspiracy hat on. I think in some ways that a thing that we probably understand a little bit better than most of the companies that are just pure mechanistic productivity technology. I 100% believe that Mark Zuckerberg has a very good idea of how his product works, but that's why it's dangerous, because he is specifically wishing to monetize manipulation and call it therapy, because he is in marketing, because he is in social engineering, social programming. He has used Facebook to socially engineer people multiple times. So do I think he knows the people who use his product better than therapists? Yes, because the therapists have to get you to know you over time. But he has also abused this multiple times. It is insidious. It is disgusting, immoral, unethical, disturbing, and he admits to all of this stuff and nobody does anything. That's because money talks. Over here with futurism, AI leading indicator has emerged suggesting that AI industry is cooked. So while we have all of the delusion happening, I think we also are seeing attempts to diversify in these companies that are using AI, because obviously they've been trying to make money off of it any way that they can, freaking pay pigs. And there are signs now also that it's a trend, it is a failing product, and the industries are suffering for it. In the world of cultural commentary, there are plenty of benchmarks used to determine what trend is on its deathbed. From the classic shark jumping episode of Happy Days to the adoption of Facebook by grandparents around the world, those with the ears to the ground can spot when a craze is on its way out. In that vein, the news that Meta founder and CEO Mark the Lizard Zuckerberg is spending hundreds of millions of dollars to build supercharged AI sure strikes us as bad news for that industry. Let's take it back to a few years to the fall of 2021 as America reopened its restaurants and bars to a populace cooped up for a year during COVID-19 lockdowns. The longtime virtual reality enthusiast experienced a paradigm shift of its own, one in which being immersed in a digital world became so compelling an idea he decided to sink billions upon billions of dollars into making it epic. Thusly, the CEO and founder of Facebook and International Lizard announced just before the Halloween of 2021 that he was changing the company's name to Meta, so better to associate his multi-platform conglomerate with the new metaverse that he was trying to create. The rest, they say, is history. After spending a whopping $45 billion on the world's most expensive fool's errand and making himself look very, very goofy in the process, little remains of Zuckerberg's outrageously failed bet on the small m metaverse, save for the company's name. By the start of 2024, he identified a different hobby on which to spend billions of dollars: artificial intelligence, which at that point was still new and shiny thanks to OpenAI's release of ChatGPT just a bit prior. With his metaverse dreams in the rear view, the early 40s founder delivered the death knell to his expensive VR gambit by firing many of the staffers at Meta's Reality Lab division. Zuckerberg completed his transformation from the company's nerdy meta-mate-in-chief to the designer t-shirt edgelord bent on beating OpenAI at its own game. Most recently, we learned that Zuckerberg is not only launching a superintelligence lab and picking off OpenAI talent like flies, but also reportedly paying the people he's poaching up to $100 million on a head as a signing bonus. And that's just in the first year, according to the insiders who spoke to Wired. With at least 8 OpenAI staffers jumping ship for Meta's greener pastures, that would bring the total amount spent on signing bonuses for super intelligence lab researchers alone to 800 million. And that's not counting the untold sums Zuckerberg has already spent on AI chips or the $65 billion he plans to throw at building out AI infrastructure in the near future. As Meta and many of the companies have found others in the past few years, trying to play catch up with OpenAI is a lot like the average person trying to win a foot race against Usain Bolt. Not only are you going to lose spectacularly, but you are going to embarrass yourself while doing so. As with any new technology, there are early adopters and then those who arrive late to the party. Zuckerberg clearly falls squarely in the latter category, and his delayed entry into the AI game, paired with his ability to direct ungodly sums towards his whims, makes us wonder if the party may soon be over. So is he buying in late because it is going to be over? And also, it's kind of funny. I mean, we got to find funny where we can in this situation. And it's kind of funny because he's getting in just when a bunch of lawsuits can smack him too. The great AI delusion is falling apart. According to the Telegraph, this is another one. New research shows the chorus of techno-optimism is based on falsehoods. Don't hold your breath for a white-collar automation revolution either. AI agents fail to complete the job successfully about 65 to 70% of the time, according to the study by Carnegie Mellon University and Salesforce. The analyst firm Gartner Group has concluded that the current models do not have the maturity and agency to autonomously achieve complex business goals or follow nuanced instructions over time. AI is not doing its job today and should leave us alone. It's no wonder that companies such as Klarna, which laid off its staff in 2023, confidently declaring that AI could do their jobs, are hiring humans again. This is extraordinary, and we can only have reached this point because of historic self-delusion. People will even pledge their faith to AI working well despite their own subjective experience to the contrary, the AI critic Professor Gary Marcus noted last week. Recognizing that it sucks in your own specialty, but imagining that it is somehow fabulous in domains that you are less familiar with is something he calls ChatGPT blindness. This is what I imagine every time somebody is like, well, it does art good and I'm a writer, or it does writing good and I'm an artist, or it does art and writing good, but I'm neither. Yeah, You don't understand. Much of the news is misleading. Firms are simply using AI as an excuse for retrenchment. Cost reduction is the big story in business at the moment. Globally, President Trump's erratic behavior has induced caution while the UK's business confidence is at a historically depressed levels, according to the Institute of Directors, reeling from Reeves' autumn's taxes. Attributing those layoffs to the technology is simply clever PR and helps to boost the share prices. So again, it's also going to be all about lying because it's, again, we go back to the shareholders. They will lie to you to make them money and sell you a bunk product and make you delusional in order to get your money. That is the entire thing. Companies that tried to save money with AI are now spending a fortune hiring people to fix its mistakes, also from futurism. So to echo what the previous article said, humans are being rehired after the AI has fired them. When marketing Mastro got down to business, she realized that she's going to require a complete overhaul. Ultimately, she spent 20 hours redoing a copy from scratch, and with her $100 per hour rate, that meant that her client was shelling out $2,000 for copies that likely would have ended up being far cheaper had a human just written it in the first place. So this is the common thing. These computer programs and algorithms can't do what humans do. They've never been able to do what humans do. People have been hoping that they can be good enough or rushing the door to try to make the money before the ground fell out beneath them, before the lawsuits happened, before people got wise to it, hoping that they could replace humans, hoping that they could make more money for their shareholders, and it fails. Every time it fails. It has always failed. Is there a utility for algorithmic technology? Probably in some way, but the way that it currently is, there's no way to know. And we understand from the way that even just YouTube's algorithm has worked for years that AI algorithms are bogus and nobody wants them. Nobody likes them. Facebook does the freaking AI algorithm. Is anybody happy with their Facebook feed not being their friends? You tell me. Meanwhile, there is all of this trust in these AIs. Again, from New York Times here, they asked an AI chatbot questions and the answers sent them spiraling. Generative AI chatbots are going down conspiratory rabbit holes and endorsing wild mystical belief systems. For some people, conversations with technology can deeply distort reality. So again, we are dealing with delusion and people embedding trust in these machines that have no sense of reality, that will just tell you what you want to hear. You want to hear that you are the savior of the universe? It's got you, bro. It is the biggest hype man to the point that it will hype you into delusion. But as we're dealing with that, the Pentagon is about to start using Twitter's Grok, and other federal agencies could be next. Just so you know, if any of the governments start using AI, they're all using this llama. They're all using the same AI, whether it's Grok or Meta or Open or ChatGPT or OpenAI. They're all of the top ones are sharing the same exact data. It's coming from the same place, using the same stuff. And if you're seeing it say, this is delusional, this is wrong over here, and it's affirming what you want to know, then them using it in a private sector or in a public sector, in the Pentagon, in any federal agencies, going to be dealing with the exact same issues, because that is embedded in the programming. It's insane to me that you would want to deal in privacy issues, in intimate issues like what the federal government does, but outsource it to a public company's data center that's going to absorb all of it. It's just crazy. But hey, some good news here. EU Commission's study on generative AI and copyright suggests overturning the current opt-out approach that effectively treats silence as consent. So the EU may return to looking at copyright and generative AI rights in the near future, because they have changed their mind after some new studies show that that opt-out does not work and it is not fair. So there is that. We have movement in good directions, and what we have to keep doing is to be honest, to discuss these things, to discourage these things, and encourage people to connect with other people, encourage people to be daring. And in saying being daring, I understand how difficult it is to want to connect to people, It is so scary to interact with people, because also there are just like some really terrible people out there that you might run into. You never know who people actually may be when you approach them with the best intentions. You never know who is going to hurt you, who is going to be honest. And unfortunately, that is just part of the human experience of forming relationships. But The people that are in my life, the people that I know right now, the people that have changed my life, and in big and small ways, are such a blessing to my days that I am so glad that I know all of the people, that I've gotten the chance to know the people that I've known, even with the hurt that's come with some of them. And my own insecurities that come out in my relationships, and, crying about, not crying, but yes, okay, crying. I won't say not crying. Sometimes I do cry about feeling like I'm just a burden in everybody's life, and I'm ashamed to be in everybody's life, and like the best thing for me to do is just disappear from people so that I don't bother them. Like, I just want to make people's lives better, and I don't think that I can a lot of the time because of my own issues. Like, that's not on anybody else. I don't, but despite the pain of that stuff, every person that is in my life, I am grateful and I'm blessed to have. And as difficult as it is, and as awkward as first meetings can be, like, Sam and I weren't instant buddies. We did have chemistry, but we weren't instant buddies. Monty and I didn't instantly click, and there was like a but it falls into place. There are other people that I feel like there was, you're like, you feel something about somebody, and then you're like, oh no, I don't want to make things weird. Oh no. Anyway, it's hard, but it's worth it. It's hard, but it's worth it. And know, the longer that you push yourself back, that you hide away, the harder that it will be. But there are also many different ways in which to interact with people. Even if you're afraid to like leave the house, you can find friendship. You can find genuine people. And just know that you are worth the truth. You are worth caring about. You are cared about. And you are worth the difficulty of communication, of human relationships. You are. Don't let these corporations make you believe that you are only worth whatever they can get their shareholders. Do not let these people believe, or let you believe, that you are worth selling your life for them to benefit for, that you should kill yourself, that you should just operate for these people. You're worth more than that. You mean more than that. And I am not a chatbot just affirming you, okay? I am just a person that understands the value of human life, and that is you. With that said, let me know your thoughts on any or all of the articles or topics discussed today. I'm looking forward to the conversation down below. Have a great weekend, and don't die.
To my children, Tommy, Ike, and Annabelle, if you forget everything else I ever said in the lifetime we shared together, I need you to remember 3 things. 1. Minimize violence done to and by women. As givers of life, it's against their nature, God's design, to do harm, and every act of violence done to them is meant to break their souls, turning what should be a giver of hope into a black widow. A woman who destroys the life and the mercy of her care for no other reason but the corruption of her own self. It is only when you come across these kinds of women that you should put them down, for they are no better than the men who tarnished them. However, take no glee in what must be done. Finding any life so far gone, a black hole is where someone's heart should be, leaves only one solution: the mercy of death, and it's a tragedy when it happens. Make no mistake, a woman's love is the most powerful thing on this earth. It can start wars, end them, and change the devil himself into someone God sees worthy of giving a second chance. She don't owe this love to anyone, but she do carry it around with her so long as she's living. That is why the devil will do everything he can to pervert women's nature and destroy their innocence. Of every crime you can commit during your lifetime, be it out of daring or necessity, for every defiance you may act out against God, government, or man, avoid harming the innocent, for the day that we become bloodthirsty beasts where love don't exist anymore is the day hell on earth has come. And as bad as it may seem at times nowadays, we ain't there yet. 2. Everything you do in your life will create consequences, both seen and unseen, extending further than you can imagine. Nothing you do exists solely within your arm's reach. Think about every decision you make, every action you take, because you won't know how long your choices will stalk you, be them destructions or blessings, rumors or history been made. The truth of the matter is, your life will be controlled not by the truth of what you've done, but by the way others carry on about you. And the thoughts of others are more real in the long term than what you know to be true. It won't stop affecting you just because it ain't real, and no matter the life you've lived, most men can't outrun what's written in them in ink. It ain't hopeless though. Be firm in knowing who you are outside of the noise, and live beyond the means of the news of the day. 3. There ain't anything stronger than a family you build for yourself. What you put together is worth fighting for. Protect your loved ones with your life, and they'll give theirs in return. Family ain't defined by blood, understand that. And for as strong as the bonds of your family are, know that you'll find just as much passion in the people who hate you. While you'll risk your life for those you care about, those who find your existence to be an insult to theirs will risk themselves to put an end to their affliction. As cruel as it may seem, a man who hates you will stop at nothing until one of you is dead. It's a mistake to believe anything different. Don't let you be the ones taken from, be it by outlaw lawmen or by someone in between. The only one who'll be looking out for you is you and your kin. Maybe there's another way to be, but in all my years I've seen the worst of man, I ain't found another way around man's desire to conquer against all else. There ain't a changing of that mind, and sometimes I believe there ain't the ability for man to change at all, least of all through lead or legislation. I ain't claiming to be right about nothing. On many things, I don't want to be right. But what I do want is for my kids to live a better life than the one I did and avoid the mistakes that I made while finding the truth and purpose in what matter more than gold in this country. It's my hope that by sharing the things I learned that my kids will be better than their old man ever was, and that what I done isn't what people remember me for, but who y'all are going to become. That'll be the legend of Bill Cassidy.